to Aguna Ramble, an Arsenal fan TV podcast. It's a special midweek podcast which needs a special guest, and today we have got one. He's an Olympic Games silver and double bronze medalist, a gold, silver and bronze world champion medalist, a triple European gold and Commonwealth Games gold medalist. He's West Ham fan fanatic. It's only Kriss Akabusi MBE. How are you, Kriss?
Boom, boom, boom. Give it up to James. James has hit it direct. What a man. That's a mouthful, fella, but you did a good job.
That's I'm a pro. Let's just... I'll try my best.
We won't
How
say that in, James, yeah?
Yeah. How are you, Kriss?
I'm in great shape, mate. We're looking forward to the game of the weekend.
Good man.
That will be the fourth of our local derbies. We played Chelsea, Tottenham, and Palace. And to be fair, we haven't done too good. We've only picked up 1 point out of those three. So we're looking for a big 3 points over at the Lee Arsenal.
Okay, just quick, I'll speak to you quickly on your last game, that 1-0 loss to Chelsea. What happened out there? I mean, you were quite unlucky, I thought. Some things didn't go your way, and, Hazard, we all know how great he is. He scores that goal. What did you make of the game?
I've got to be honest, James, I was actually working that night, so I'm really, really sorry, mate. I didn't really go to the game. I mean, I'm a season ticket holder. I've got 2 season tickets, but on that day, it'd been changed because of the cup final. So it changed from the day that I could do it to the day that I couldn't, and so I didn't actually get to watch it. I would have gone on a Tuesday, but on a Wednesday I was working.
Oh, that's fine. Okay.
but what I do here, from my mates who do go, is that actually West Ham really performed well on the night. We've had a couple of dodgy months, to be fair, and the guy who's got a lot of stick, Captain Fantastic Nolan, actually played well, which is, it's really sad to say, because he's been a great servant for us. He's been a great servant at Bolton, Newcastle, came to us when we needed him most. Was the great energy and the scrapping force that he is. He helped get us out of the Championship, and the first year in the Premier League was great. But
he was scoring a lot of goals, wasn't he? I know a lot of them were penalties, but you still got to tuck him in. And he's a very disciplined player, isn't he? I mean, I remember reading about when Andy Carroll was having the problems at Newcastle, he had to live with Kevin Nolan. I think Kevin Nolan's done the same at West Ham with Carroll, hasn't he? He sort of takes the younger players under his wing and nurtures them in.
Well, you're right. And actually, it's correct. He doesn't score penalty. Our penalty taker is Noble. So last year, Nolan, on 7 goals, by the way, was our top goal scorer. So the guy, he does things that people like me don't often see. Now, he's a guy, he's a general on the pitch. He's doing all the niggly stuff that, you wouldn't think is not part of football, but, he can rattle players, grab parts that are not supposed to be grabbed hold of, get them distracted, get them distracted from the game. So I know that he's a real valuable person on the pitch, and off the pitch, like you said, with Carroll, he's a little bit of the father figure, and is able to sort of, help professionals conduct themselves off the pitch. So he's a great lad. But, what we are now seeing at West Ham this year is a phenomenal player, and he should have played for England a lot more, who's at the waning of his powers. And it's really tough when you see a great player really just come down the slope again, because he's a little bit late in tackles now. He can't get into the box as much as he used to. So he was always good for a goal in every 3 games.
Yeah, just quick knock on England. For me, why do you think Noble's never really made a grand England stage? Because here's a guy I see, and he's very solid. He's very a lot of people say the England players don't have the passion or, to wear that shirt. And for me, this guy's West Ham through and through. He comes across as a really, like a one-club man.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
And, Arsenal come in for him many years ago and he turned us down. He wanted to stay at West Ham. So, and I just see him as a guy who, for England, I think could really benefit. I think he's a guy that Hodgson would look at and probably like, because you're going to get 100% effort out of him. He's committed. And why do you think he's never really been called up for England? Do you think it is the whole stigma of a lower type team in the division, maybe?
That's it. I think that fortunately for us, Noble has committed himself to us. He's an East End boy, born in Canning Town, and you are right, he's going to be a one-club man. He's just signed a 5-year contract that takes him to 32, 33, so he's a one-club man, but he's not playing for a fashionable club as far as England's concerned. You know, back in the day when I first started supporting West Ham was a fashionable club for England, and we supplied, but now we're not in favour. I just think it's simple as that. And we do get people coming to our grounds now. And I think we've seen Noble in West Ham, and let's be fair, this has been a great season for us. But normally Noble's in a struggling side, and then you look at, take a pick, if someone's playing for Arsenal, Man U, Liverpool, City. You know, you're going to look a lot better playing with better players in a better position. I mean, you know, I went to see West Ham. I know this is an Arsenal podcast, but that's why I went to see West Ham play Liverpool, for example. And when he was up there, Sterling looked world class. But it's because the ball was being zipped around. People are running into spaces. You know, when the ball was getting to those spaces, it was just a phenomenal game of football. And of course, it's easier to look good in that sort of team than in a traditional West Ham side that's really struggled and had to scrap for everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just quickly going back on the previous Arsenal-West Ham fixture, it was a 2-1 win for the Arsenal. It really was a game of, two halves. I mean, the first half, fortunately or unfortunately, whatever way you want to see it, Song got his goal disallowed, maybe for interference of play. I think it was from Sacco. Yeah. And we got a Cook penalty from Santi Cazorla. And then super Danny Welbeck, who has come back this week and proved all his doubters wrong as well. Yeah. He scored that goal in the first half. And then second half, Kayute, who I think is an absolute gem. Yeah. I think he's a great buy. I mean, you lose Diame, who a lot of fans, even Arsenal fans, were thinking, well, Diame, he's a player that could do well in our team, but he goes to Hull City. You know, weird transfer for me. I didn't know why you guys sold Diame. Maybe you needed the money. I have no idea. But Kayute's been fantastic. But do you see, the game at the weekend, playing out the same way? I mean, I look here, you've possibly got Winston Reid, who's just signed a new contract for you guys. He could be injured. Carlton Cole and Andy Carroll are injured. Do you see the game going more the same way, or do you think it might be a big West Ham, they can play for the both halves instead of possibly just one this time round?
Yeah, I'd tell you what, when you guys come to our manor, I'll tell you who I was impressed with, and he's gone on to really play well. I think it was his first game back in your side, and that's Coquelin. Yeah. Coquelin was absolutely tremendous. And I've got to have to admit, I've got a mate as a gooner. So one of my mates was telling me, Coquelin, no, he's not very good. We shipped him out, farmed him out. He was absolutely brilliant.
He's very disciplined. That's the word that's used all the time about it.
Yeah, and he was breaking stuff up, and he was everywhere. And what that enabled happen was Santi Cazorla had one of those majestical games. He was up for it, and the ball stuck to his feet. He was mesmerising. He was one of those. I'm not. When I say Messi, I'm not actually linking Cazorla to Messi. But I was but like Messi or Ronaldo, when you've got to watch him, you know that something's going to happen when the ball was at his feet. That's what happened for Arsenal in the second half for Cazorla. You knew. When the ball was at his feet, something was going to happen. I've linked Cazorla and Coquelin because Coquelin allowed it to happen. And Coquelin allowed Cazorla to have that freedom to move, to do his shimmies. I mean, he was running into spaces, he was flicking on balls, and he was on the end of everything was great about Arsenal. Again, we were upset because we thought we were going to do something against you boys. And in the first half, it really looked like it. Like you said, go make games, and so did the Slav goals.
Yeah.
We've got to get this offside rule sorted out. I'd like a clear cut. You're offside if you're the wrong side of the ball. Then we all know, and then it's not a goal. But it was a dream come true for a Song, and we love singing. We've only got.
It was a cracking goal as well. It was a really good goal as well. Right outside the box for a set piece. We were watching them go in.
And we were all absolutely jigging a good old jig. And then obviously we had to pipe down when it was disallowed. But you know what? I mean, I've been going to West Ham now since 1969, and we're happy with a good game. It was a good game. It was a good game of football. And we don't like to be on a losing end of a good game of football. I'd rather be on a losing end of a good game of football than a bad game of football. It was a good game of football.
Yeah. Just quick here as well, I've got some, some statistics and whatnot. You've got Sacco, who scored the most goals. You've got Downing with the most assists. But I've also put in Aaron Cresswell, because I think this is a guy as well, another great signing you've had, where he can cross a ball. I watch his crosses and I'm like, they're pinpoint. He's a really, really accurate crosser of the ball. And I don't just look at him and think, what a signing for West Ham. I think England now, they're blessed with so many great, fullbacks at both right back and left back. I mean, obviously, we'll touch upon Jenkinson a bit later possibly, but how do you feel about Cresswell? Do you think he's a pivotal,
Yeah, I think again you've done really well to spot that, and so I did speak about Coyote because like you said, Coyote's been absolutely magnificent. He's phenomenal. He's got a real engine. He's got a real engine on him, and he can score goals. He can defend goals. Defend on the other end. So he's been fantastic, and we missed him when he went to Africa, when he went to the African Nations Cup. So we really missed him. But he's been a blessing to have back again. But back onto Cresswell, what a beauty! I mean, what I love again, it's up and down. That I mean, I get dizzy. I used to be a sprinter, and I watch him doing his shuttle runs. And I can't believe it.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. How he can recover from his shuttle runs is just tremendous. And not only that, on the end of a great big sprint, so he does a 70 to 80 yard sprint, but on the end of it, as you mentioned, is his pinpoint pass. And I'll also tell you something else as well. He can be dangerous in the box. So, that guy, if he gets...
Yeah, he's got. I can't remember exactly how many goals. I think he's got 1 or 2 goals this season.
He's got a couple of goals for us this season. But again, he's always a constant danger. West Ham on our day were fantastic, and we've had some great additions. You've mentioned Coyote. You mentioned Saki. I'm sure we'll come back to him. Cresswell, the other boy from Arsenal, Jenkinson. Valencia, Song. It's a whole new team, really. When I look at our first team, there's only sort of 3-4 people who were in our team the previous year. And we've been very lucky that our new team has gelled. A lot of people tried it. Dirty Spurs, they tried it last year, didn't they? And they became a cropper when they changed their team with so many players. But for us at West Ham, it really gelled.
I think, he gets a lot of bad publicity, Allardyce, possibly for, I think he's got that stigma of his style of play, and, they stigmatise him as being quite a, miserable type of manager. He's hardly the most, pragmatic of people. But there's one thing that I think Allardyce does do, is that he takes players from certain places and puts them into, the rough league that is the Premier League, and he just lets them, express themselves. I don't know how he gets it out of them, but he manages, to get these older, or, these players from these other countries playing fantastically. I mean, I remember when he was at Bolton, he signed JJ Okocha, Euro Dual KF. They're people who've never played Premier League football, and they come in and they took the Premier League by storm. And I think he's done exactly the same at West Ham this season. You had Song, who he left Arsenal, promised more money, and thought he could have a crack at Barcelona, but for a midfielder going to Barcelona, do you really think you're going to get in there? You got your Busquets, you got Iniesta. I think they even had Fabregas still at the time, and look where he had to leave because he couldn't get in. And we all know how quality Fabregas is. And he's come to West Ham and he's done fantastic again. I think he's been fantastic, Song, and Kouyate as well, and all these other players. I mean, Downing, he's revolutionised Downing. He was at Liverpool, sort of there and thereabouts, wasn't really doing anything, and he's come to West Ham and he's moved from mainly as a left winger into a more central role, isn't he? He's more of like a playmaker. He's picking the passes here and there. What do you think of Stuart Downing, Kriss?
Yeah, Downing this year has been a revelation. I mean, the first couple of years, you could take him or leave him. It was a little bit insipid. We had him out there. I don't know. Allardyce is like a lot of modern managers. For some reason, there's this style. You get a left winger, put him on the right, he checks in, everyone knows he's going to check in.
Yeah.
And no one goes to the byline anymore. I don't get it. That's the beauty of Cresswell. Having Cresswell now is actually he can get to the byline. But, Downing for a long time was playing on the right wing, coming in, and then losing the ball. He's coming in and losing the ball, and he's not the most aggressive fella. But what's happened now is that we've had Downing just behind 2 attacking players, Sacco and Valencia. So when Downing's been at his best, he's played just behind Sacco and Valencia, and as you rightly pointed out, he's fired the ammunition into attackers who are really aggressively running channels, cutting right, cutting left, going in, going out. And he's been able to pull the strings and, like this maestro, ping them in at the right time. And the fallout has been as well, because defenders and defensive midfielders have had to go with a run, all of a sudden, Downey's had a little bit of space, and he's curling balls in left, right. It's like, and we're rubbing our eyes and saying, who is this? Who is him? He can't be English. He's got Downing or
Downinho.
Yeah, Downinho, because he's been doing stuff that only foreigners do. So it has been that has been tremendous, and he's been Western. We've had a great start to the season, and I tell you what, again, you mentioned Song briefly.
Yeah.
Now, when Song first come to these shores, I'll tell you what, mate, we were looking, how can Arsenal afford to let go of Alex Song? He was tremendous. He gets on the ball and three men couldn't get it off of him. He turns this way, he turns that way. He was doing world-class passes, 80, 90 yards into feet from different people down on the wings. He was tremendous. But what's happened the first time we were again was went up to Liverpool, and our number 30 was off Song. He weren't happening. And what I think's happened is he's believed in his own publicity, and he holds onto the ball a little bit too long. And I'm not a tactician, but I reckon if you watch the DVDs, you know what he's going to do. And now he's turning into trouble. And he does
have that tendency as well for someone who's meant to be, a central sort of defensive type player. He does have a tendency to really bomb forward. I think that's what a lot of Arsenal fans did criticise him for at the time, is that he was trying to score these goals, and at the time he was pigging these wonder passes into Van Persie from deep, and we were scoring some of the best goals you'll see in the Premier League, these Van Persie volleys, and I think even Walcott was nipping in a few from them and whatnot. And just after that, he sort of, like you've said, it gets to his head that maybe, I can ping all these passes in, maybe I can run up there and score a few. And he is quick, but he's not that quick, to really run forward and then run straight back, is he? Do you think so? Or?
Yeah, no, I'm with you. He's not quick enough to go up and down. He's not a box-to-box player.
No.
And I would say basically Song needs to keep it simple. If he keeps it simple, he can win a ball great. He needs to look up and make that beautiful pass. Job done, son.
Yeah.
And if he did that all game, because at the beginning of the season, all of our wins at the beginning of the season, in great part, were down to Song flicking the ball out to the wing, either to Sacco or Valencia cutting in, or over to Downing to create the play. And he was brilliant at that, and we were so solid at defence, it was just brilliant. Anyway, we had this triangle between Reid, Tompkins and Song in the middle of defence, which allowed Cresswell and Jenkinson to fly up and down.
Yeah.
But then when he starts moving out of position, holding the ball too long, doing one dribble too long, it breaks down, and if he loses the ball, all of a sudden we're vulnerable because we haven't got that triumph in defence. And if we get onto the game on Saturday, that will be my worry for us. If Song tries to do too much and loses a ball, and then we give
well,
it
how quick the Arsenal counter-attack is, and like you said, Coquelin will try and break that up as quick as he can, and he's a brilliant feeder of the ball as well. He's a very underrated passer. I mean, he can ping it long, he can play it short, he can do all sorts of different passes. And with Arsenal's counter-attack, you never know who it'll be on the day. It varies, but if it's Sanchez and possibly Danny Welbeck on the wings, or Walcott or Cazorla, how quick they can be.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, I'm not so worried about Danny Welbeck because our boys are big enough and strong enough to take care of him. That's not saying that he can't score, and that's not saying that he won't score. I'm not so worried about him, but I am worried about Sanchez, Cazorla, Walcott, the boy whose dad was a great player as well.
Chamberlain, I think he's injured, so maybe you're lucky there. But for me, just touching on Welbeck quick, I think even though he had that performance on Monday night against Man United, he did come off sick, and he had a hamstring injury and whatnot as well. But I think maybe Wenger will go for Giroud because, like you've said, you got your. I mean, Arsenal have got this tendency to get these small, intricate, tippy-tappy type of players that don't like the contact. And, I'm not saying it's a bad thing with West Ham, but, you got big, burly, strong, players there that will, get physical because they know Arsenal can't handle it. So I think Wenger might go for Giroud in the fact that he's a bigger, stronger player, and maybe his hold-up play can bring, Sanchez and the rest of them into the game a bit more.
Well, you know what I mean. If he does, that will play into our hands. I think West Ham at home playing big boys. We've got beefcakes, you've got beefcakes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's battering rams. I think you're playing into our hands that way. As I said, I think West Ham are vulnerable. We're pretty much vulnerable to the speed matches. We had a hard time against Liverpool because of Sterling and the Brazilian. Coutinho, yeah, but those boys, and then those boys, the interplay of those boys really causes problems because you start shifting this about, and if Song doesn't stay in the middle,
yeah.
if he's not that triangle between Tompkins, Reed, or Collins and Tompkins, if he's not that solid triangle, we're in problems. If we kick that solid triangle, then we can muscle your quick boys out of the game. So, it's going to be an interesting game. I think, some of the key players for us will be Coyote, because he is our box-to-box player. So it will be Coyote, will be Downing. Will he get the freedom to flick in Sacco and Valencia? And is Sacco at the beginning of the season, Sacco touched and he scored. The last few games again, his scoring touch has gone. So, and if you haven't got a threat, then Arsenal will play with you all day.
Exactly. Spot on. All right, well, I've got a few listener questions here. I know we spoke beforehand. I tried to make it a bit even, but obviously, being an Arsenal podcast, the majority of them are, Arsenal related. So I've got one from Jasper, who is on our podcast here, on my podcast. I'll get criticised for that. On our podcast, sorry guys. He says, Chris, what do you make of former Gunners Jenkinson and Song? I know you've touched on Song a bit, but Jenkinson obviously can't play because he's a loan player. But do you think he'll make this deal permanent? What do you make of Jenkinson at West Ham?
I'll tell you what, we would love him. I mean, again, it's another one. You look at him and you think, well, if Arsenal don't need him, they must have a cracking.
Yeah, well, we've got 3 good right backs there already. I mean, if Jenkinson comes back, that's 4. That's I wouldn't complain, but it's very greasy. Yeah. No, I mean, he's good. He's a steady boy, to be fair, and he's had a little bit more mobility than our previous guys. Although, having said that, I mean, we've got a guy called Demel, who Jenkinson's replaced. And Demel, I think, is probably more creative going forward. But Jenkinson is more assured in defence. And, you look at that lad and he's only going to get better. And he's certainly improved our right back spot. So, we'd love to keep him. I mean, I'm sure that our owners are really working hard. I saw today possibly 10 million, which I think I know it's but it's just the fact he's English, isn't it? These English players that are young, they command such a fee, and I know Jenkinson's loves Arsenal a bit. He's an Arsenal fan. He'd love to come back, but for that kind of money and for the players that we've got right back, you would consider it. I mean, what I think West Ham have done, like I said, what Allardyce does is Jenkinson sort of, I don't want to use the word frail. I don't want to say fragile either, but he wasn't really that strong in his tackling, in his defensive play at Arsenal. He sort of, let left wingers and whatnot just take the mickey out of him, really. They took him to town quite a few times, and I think at West Ham this season he's sort of toughened up. He seems a bit more like he's filled out a bit. I don't know if that's Allardyce and the others helping him. What do you make of that? Do you think?
Yeah, well, I think is again, I've said the side that he plays on, he's got Tompkins, Reed, Song, and Noble all protecting him, and I think he's had that confidence that we trust you, fella. And he's trusted at West Ham. He knows he's got a spot at West Ham, and he's growing at West Ham. And I think confidence of your teammates in you as an individual is a real important facet. When I was an athlete, the fact that I got into the British team and people had confidence in me to lead off the team in the hurdles, that in a 4x4 relay, they had confidence in me in the big race in Tokyo to anchor the team, gave me an added 20% confidence in myself. So, and I really think is that, he's come in and he's been told, this is your berth, and we've got confidence in you to be able to hold it back, to hold it down. And we've seen him grow over the season, and it was good for him to come into a team that hit the ground running. And in our first 17 games, we played phenomenal, and he was part and parcel of that. So I think it's all of that really. It's the confidence that the team have got in him, the fans have got in him, the owners have got in him, and given him that 20% confidence in himself. And he stood up to the test.
I've got a question here from Giles, also from the pod. He said, do you want to return to the Academy of Football era at West Ham and a more purer type of style? And do you want a new manager?
Okay, so love the Academy. I look at Southampton with envy. Well, you look at them and what they're doing today, West Ham were doing yesterday. If I give you you say Ferdinand, Lampard,
Cole,
Defoe, Johnson, all these kids come out of our academy, and we pass them on. And we pass them on to other people. Joey Cole as another one. We just had a sausage factory of wonderful players, and that's gone. So I'd love to go back to the academy days. And really, let's get our young people. Because always look at Noble. Noble's one of our young people. Tompkins, one of our young people, holding it down. Fantastic.
Well, you hear the names, don't you? I mean, you got what is it? Elliot Lee. What was it? Danny Whitehead. I know Turgot was meant to be a player that was quite promising, but he's moved on. Yeah, we just lost the kid, Dylan Tombini. We lost him to cancer. Yeah, we've got them, and we end up finding them out coming to elsewhere. But I don't think the emphasis has been on the academy the last few years as it was previously. But hopefully that will change. When you talk about Allardyce as our manager, there's no doubt about it, he's done a phenomenal job. And he's done the job that was required of him. And we asked him to get us out of the Championship and to stabilise us in the Premier League. He's done that. But his contract is up. And this is all you've got. You've got some chief executive and directors of the club who've got a vision for the club, and Allardyce might not fit in that vision. And you can't have a go at the directors for saying thank you very much for accepting the money that we've given you to make you the 13th best paid manager in the world for a long period of time, the third best paid manager in the Premier League. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go somewhere else. Because you see, if you want someone that's going to keep you in the Premier League, Allardyce, spot on. And you know what? For a very long time, that's what we wanted. But I think if you want somebody who's going to get you into the top 8, I don't think Allardyce is the man. And I'll tell you why. Allardyce's first nature is defensive. He's don't get me wrong when I say he's not a winner. He doesn't. Ask yourself, what has Sam Allardyce actually won in his very long and distinguished career? Not very much is the answer. His defence. If the score is 0-0, that's a good result. If you've got 38 points from every game being 0-0, that's a good result because you ain't going to go down. That's his mentality. And I think that we've got two directors in Gold and Sullivan who are great Englishmen who are really looking to put West Ham on the map while they have tenure of the club. They realise that they're in charge of this club for a time and not eternity. And in their time, they want to be the men that see West Ham maybe playing in Europe, maybe winning the cup. Now look, you could say it's a pipe dream, but what's wrong with dreaming? Absolutely nothing. I dreamed for nearly 8 to 9 years, and finally a dream happened winning an FA Cup, that was for sure. Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's a patient game, isn't it? I mean, Allardyce he's a manager that keeps you there and thereabouts, and I mean, I think he took, he has to get this top 10 finish. Was it his remit this year, or Something along them lines?
Well, see, it keeps on changing. So this is the thing with Sam, is that he does redefine the goalposts. So at one stage, we were looking up, not back, and we're looking for a place in Europe. Then it was, okay, if we finish 8th, it's going to be a great year. Then I heard top 10 finish. I'll tell you what, we'll end up being very happy finishing 12th.
But would you be underwhelmed by that, considering how great you were doing at the start of the season? I mean, surely for you guys now, you could have secured maybe, I think Champions League's possibly out of the question, but would Europa League be something you want? Because some people say that's a curse. I mean, you look at Swansea the other year. They win the League Cup, they qualify for the Europa League, they go all out, lost Marco Laudrup his job, and Swansea near enough just about got relegated, because you sort of need your two teams, don't you? Because you play the Thursdays and then you play the Sundays, but you got your Thursday team and then you got your sort of second string, okay, they're still capable Sunday team. Do you think that would be more of a curse to West Ham, or would you like at least some European football down at Upton?
Yeah, well, let's put it this way. I've got my bags packed for a European tour, but I'm not sure if they're going to put me on the bus. Of course, it would be lovely to go on a European tour, but certainly not at the expense of our Premier League status. And of course, if I had a 2020 vision and I saw that by getting rid of Allardyce or going to Europe, we'll end up back in the Championship. No. I don't want that. I am one of those sort of fans. I can go to a game and lose if it's a good game of football. I can appreciate beautiful football. As I said, I didn't like losing against Arsenal, but it was beautiful football, and Cazorla was just mesmerising on the day. Well, it's entertainment, and I got to be entertained, and I support my club, but I can applaud sparks of greatness. So I want the Premier League is a place to be, and if I'm going to have mid-table mediocrity and watch phenomenal football, great. But of course, I dream of a European tour.
No, I mean, you have to sustain that Premier League status as well, obviously moving the ground. You can't, you look at places like Ellen Road and Nottingham Forest's ground, these big old, First Division, Premier League clubs playing in the Championship. If West Ham have that new, Olympic Stadium and all the, money and so forth that comes with that, playing in the Championship really isn't what West Ham want or need, is it?
Yeah. No. Going down is not an option. We're not looking for that whatsoever. But I don't think though that if Allardyce was moved on, that's a de facto position. I think we've got some great players. We've got good investment going in for our directors. I think that we could confirm ourselves as a bona fide Premier League club. Always being aware. You look at Everton. Everton are not going to go down. Yeah. Look at Everton. Who would have said this time last year that Everton will be struggling at the basement?
That's the Europa League, I think, as well. Like I've said, it's the having the Europa League on the Thursday. It doesn't, it does struggle a bit for the managers. And I mean, Martinez at Everton.
But James, why is that? James, let me ask you then. Why do you think that is? Why should the Europa League on a Thursday affect your game on a Sunday?
Do you know what it is, honestly? I mean, you probably know more than me being an ex-athlete. I mean, I struggle running to the shops, mate. But, I just think maybe these players, should be able to play 2 games in a week. Most of them do. But I think maybe Thursday, and then with the Europa League as well, you've got to factor in, like, no disrespect to these teams, but they're the teams that are in the further parts of Europe more what I say Central Europe. So you've got to go to the middle of Russia or the middle of Switzerland so it's more of the travelling aspect, and I think that's what causes it. Because I mean, in the Champions League, you're more centrally, aren't you? You're going to be against a French team. You're going to be against a Spanish team.
Do you know what I think it is, mate? I mean, I think these are all good pointers that you make, but I think that if you plant seeds of destruction into players' minds, they will bloom into fully fledged weeds and strangle them. Because look, you see, do you remember everyone used to say this? A team that goes up from the Championship, beware of the second syndrome, season syndrome. And so all of a sudden, every player's going, second season syndrome. And now it's like, football after Christmas. You get so tired after Christmas, you can't play in January. Beware of the January syndrome. Well, of course, if you plant those seeds into the players' minds, those weeds will grow and strangle the player. But if you say and you teach and you induct and you induce into the player that, look, you are now striding the continent of Europe. You're a phenomenal player. And when you come back as a European competitor back into, and that you're a colossus. And you imbue them with that mentality. That's how they play. You know, okay, this team's going to probably go down this year, right? But you look at Burnley. Now you look at Burnley and Sean Dice. He's imbued into those characters that you're gladiators. And you know what? It is a privilege to play one Saturday, get your boots on Wednesday, and play the next Saturday. And we're going to show the Premier League that we're gladiators. And these guys, every single game, come out and they give you a fight. They don't say, oh, you know what? I played 11 consecutive games in the last 6 weeks. They're gladiators, and they've got a different mentality. So what I would hope is that whoever manages West Ham, be that Allardyce or not, if we get onto the European League, we'll say, you are gladiators. You've gone across and you strode across to the further reaches of Europe, and you've nicked a point, and you're coming home, and when you get there Saturday, remember, you're not just representing West Ham, you're not just representing England, you're representing the European continent, and you're a gladiator, and you're fighting the best in the country. Let's go and do it more.
I know you're a motivational speaker, Kriss, but they need you in the changing rooms, don't they? That's fantastic. That is absolutely fantastic. Just quick, I'll add another just quick question here. I know you've gone over a bit from what we said. If West Ham do get a new manager, who realistically would you like? I mean, Slavan Bilic is obviously the dream, but people talk about Everton. You know, he's ex-Everton as well. He could be tempted by that. Laudrup's name's been thrown about. Who would you like at West Ham to be the next manager if you could pick, Kriss?
Well, I mean, I think you've named him, mate. I mean, I love Slavan Bilic. I loved what he did with Croatia. He's done a great job with Besiktas. He's a forward-thinking manager. He's a new breed. He's hungry for success. The West Ham fans would give him a chance because he's one of our own. You know, he used to live at Chelsea Harbour and go and compete for us down over the East End. Would love to have him there. Give him a chance.
He does ooze class. I mean, Arsenal played Besiktas in the Champions League qualifier this season. And we just about, scraped through. But after the game, he is a real class act, I think. He's got that sort of enigmatic approach that I think maybe you don't get with Allardyce, which, West Ham sort of, maybe you might disagree with me, but West Ham's identity, you got really outgoing type of fans, you've got quite a loud, pragmatic type of fan base, but you've got a manager there who does come across sometimes a bit sour, a bit miserable. Maybe you need, like Klopp does, he's an enigma, he lifts, he exudes energy. I think, Bilic would be exactly what you guys need in that aspect.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think we'd love him. I think he'd be exactly what we want. Allardyce is what he is. He's no disrespect to Northerners, but Northerner. He's a down Northerner, no nonsense. He minds his pennies, looks after the pounds. He's a defensive-minded player, defensive-minded coach, and he's phenomenal. Look, Allardyce will have no problem getting a job, and he's done a brilliant job for West Ham, and he will get a great CV from our owners, and he's done great. But I think going forward, this young, vibrant West Ham in the new stadium, trying to attract people from the city of London, so hopefully we'll get people from the Canary Wharf coming to watch us, getting people from further afield around out of Essex and Suffolk, but also getting some of the Eastern Europeans. You get someone like Bilic as your manager, how many Croatians will all of a sudden start looking at West Ham? And it don't take long if you fly on one of those nice, easy flights you get from these days that pop in for a couple of hundred quid or whatever it is, and you go and you watch it. So Croatians in, get Eastern Europeans in. I think there's a much bigger...
You're in a perfect location for it as well. I mean, what I envision West Ham possibly becoming like is for me, you're in a tourist hotspot already. You're very central transport link-wise. You've got a massive shopping centre there. I mean, it's ideal. You can say, you know, no disrespect, but you can be like, all right, to the wife, you have an hour and a half in there. I'll have my hour and a half in there watching the football.
Yeah,
you know, go have a look round, you know, your John Lewis's or whatnot. And,
well, and it's bigger than that as well, James. It's that as well, because what you got with that shopping centre, Westfield, you've got a world-class football team, hopefully, or a Premier League team in the stadium. You've got all the entertainment for the kids as well, and you've got all the clubs later on in the evening. Theatre Land ain't that million miles away, and you've got, you know,
hotels,
lovely dining.
So you can stay over, people stay over, You
can stay, hotels like that, and that's what I think. It's Club West Ham. I think it's Club West Ham. I think it's, you know, Westfield Shopping Centre, Club West Ham. Make a weekend of it. And everyone's happy.
I think away day experiences, you'll be one of the best in the league for that now. I think people will probably, you know, travelling from afar will probably see that and think, you know what, I can have a day out in London as well as a day out at the football. Best of both worlds.
No, absolutely right. I think, I'm not a strategist, but if I was a strategist, I think that's what I'll be trying to do with West Ham. I think that, you know, you've got Dave Gold and Sullivan. You've got these two directors who I think they are really aware of their point in history. And I think that they're trying to really build something. I mean, Gold is 78, so, you know, well, I won't say anything more, but he's 70, so, you know, he's done a long time in life. And then you've got Sullivan, who's 66. Both those guys got half a dozen years, 10 years to do something great. And I think that's what they're going to try and do.
Brilliant. Okay, well, going on to the game at the weekend, I'm going to ask you now for your score prediction, Kriss.
Okay. If Sam comes out of play, look, we ain't going down.
No.
We're not going down. We're 2/3 of the way into the season. If he comes and says, you know what, let's give it a go. Let's give it a go with these good boys. I could see a 2-2 draw and one of us nicking it 3-2. It could go either way. If we go and defend and try and hold out, we'll hold out for 60 minutes. Arsenal will, because they're brilliant, will pierce us once and then pierce us twice, and it'll be 2-0. I'm going 3-2 West Ham, so I'm living the dream.
Okay. And just quick, I know you have a very popular, famous friend who's a big Arsenal fan in Mr. Jack Whitehall. Do you have another one of your rallying motivational talks maybe, or a bit of trash talking you want to do to Jack Whitehall here? I'll give you a platform.
Yeah, that's what I say. Well, everyone knows that Jack is a man, and Jack is a man who says, I can. But listen, old Jack, on this occasion, West Ham are going to come and smash you guys down. Boom, boom, boom. All right.
Well, Kriss, I'm going to wrap it up because obviously you've gone a bit further, and I'm so grateful for your time, and it's been an absolute pleasure again to speak to you, mate. It's been fantastic.
Okay,
Thank you so
much. Good luck, you Arsenal fans, except for this weekend. But good luck in the FA Cup. It'd be lovely to see you guys retain your cup, and also good luck to you guys in maintaining Champions League status. You guys are fun to watch. You've been fun to watch. You guys get a lot of stick, but actually you play the game in a beautiful way.
Thanks, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. That is Kriss Akabusi MBE. Thank you so much, Kriss, again. No worries. Take care of yourself. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.